Hello, grade 4. How are you today? I hope all of you are fine. Today's lesson, it's our first geometry lesson. We're gonna talk about congruency. How can I figure out that the two things or two objects or two figures are congruent? At first, if I have two line segments and I want to prove that they are congruent, or I want to say these two line segments are congruent. So I can say that two line segments are congruent if they have the same length. Here I have a line segment AB. Its length about 1, 2, 3, 4 units. 4 units length. And here the line segment CD, its length 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So AB is 4 units of length and CD is 4 units of length. Now I can say that AB is congruent to CD. That's about how to say that the two line segments are congruent. Okay, but what about the angles? How can I say that two angles are congruent? The two angles can be congruent if the measures are the same, if they have the same measure. Here angle ABC, it's measure 30 degrees. And the angle XYZ, it's measure 30 degrees. So I can say that the angle ABC is congruent to the angle XYZ. Okay, isn't it easy? I think till now it's easy. Okay, what about uh, how can I say the two figures are congruent? Let's see how can I prove that the two figures are congruent. Okay, I can say that the two figures are congruent if I have two conditions, not only one condition. The first is their corresponding sides are equal in length, and the second is their corresponding angles are equal in measure. We know that the figure or the shape or the polygon, if I want to prove that two polygons are congruent, I should know that, or I should prove that all of their corresponding sides are equal in length and all of their corresponding angles are equal in measures. And we know that the polygons, by the way, contains line segment, that's the sides, and the angles, they are also should be equal in measure. Okay, here I have two rectangles. This figure is it's already we all of us know its name. I have here ABCD rectangle and XYZL rectangle. So how can I know that or say that these two rectangles are congruent? Here they are congruent because AB equal to XY. AB here in the first rectangle, its corresponding sides here is XY. And BC, its corresponding side in the other rectangle, YZ. And BC, okay, and CD, the corresponding side of it, LZ. And X, L is corresponding to AD. So now I have all the corresponding sides are equal in length. What about the corresponding angles? Angle A is corresponding to angle X. Angle B corresponding to angle Y. Angle D is corresponding to angle L, and angle C is corresponding to angle Z. But I don't know that the angles here are equal in measure. I should know, or I should remember from the properties of the rectangle that all the angles of the rectangle are right angle. All of them are equal. All of them equal. Its measure equal 90 degrees. Then without telling me that the angles are equal, I know that the rectangle, all of its angles are equal in a rectangle. So now I can figure out that measure angle A equal measure angle X, because they are right. Measure angle B equal measure angle Y. Measure angle C equal measure angle Z, and measure angle D equal measure angle L. Now I can say that two rectangles A, B, C, D and X, Y, Z, L are congruent. Okay, drill 1. Here I have A, B, C, D is a square. It's already all the sides are drawn, and other square or greater square MFEN, all of the sides are drawn. But let's see the first question. Draw the square XYZL congruent to the square ABCD. He want me to draw or to complete the square XYZL by myself to be congruent to the square ABCD. I notice that the side length of AB is 2 units, and the side length of AD is 2 units, BC 2 units, CD 2 units. All the squares, their sides are any square, all of their sides are equal in length. So I should draw all the sides with 2 units length. So let's see how can I draw them. By using your ruler and your pencil, we draw a line segment with 2 units length. This is the second line segment. Here, the third one, the fourth one. They are the same, with the same length. And we continue the name of the square, XYZL. This is the first question. Okay. Next, question B. Draw the square Pqrs congruent to the square MNEF. Here is the square MNEF. The unit length of the square here, the side length of it, is equal 1, 2, 3 units of length. So I should draw the other 3 sides with 3 units length. Here, this is the second side, the third side, and the fourth side. And continue, complete the name of the square BQRS. All of them are 3 units length, so this square, all of its sides are equal in length. So we conclude that here the square consider a special case of congruency, because as we said in the rectangle at the first example, the rectangle, all of its angles are right. The same in the square, all of its angles are right. So I don't need to mention that when I want to say that two squares are congruent, I don't need to say that all the angles are equal, because this condition is already in any square. So the two squares are congruent, we need only one condition, that about the side. If one side of a square is congruent to the other side in the other square. Okay, what about the angles? As we just said that. Of course, we said that the angles of the squares are already right angles, and we all know this, and they are equal in length in any square. So we all know that the angles of all the squares are right angles. Okay. Drill 2. Join each figure in group A to the congruent figure from group B. We want to join them together, or take yes as you want. So join each figure. The first figure here is congruent to, yes, this one, the rectangle with the other rectangle, the small triangle with the small triangle, they are the same. And at last, the two circles are congruent. I hope you understand the congruency. Let's review our lesson again. We said that when I want to say the two figures are congruent, that means I want to say or mention two conditions. The two conditions are how can I say that two figures are congruent? That the corresponding sides are equal in length and the corresponding angles are equal in measure. And we said one special case till now, this special case about the square. The square, we don't need to mention the two conditions, we just need to mention one of them. It's about the side. If I have side length of a square equal to the other square side, so now they are congruent because we said all the squares are have the same angles, they are right and measure equal 90 degrees. I hope you understand the lesson and we're gonna continue it tomorrow inshallah.